Hello, dear friends. I am Gopi Dervalia. Today, I am going to deal with this topic: major leaders of Transcendentalist movement. This is my personal information. Table of contents. First topic is introduction. Second is what is transcendentalism. Third is major transcendentalist values. Fourth is major leaders of transcendentalist movement. Fifth is conclusion and then citation. Introduction. The treatment of transcendentalism by 20th century teachers of literature and American history has followed a long tradition of focusing primarily on the European and American cultural influences on its major figures such as Ralph Waldo Emerson, Henry David Thoreau, and Margaret Fuller. Their work is seen as fitting into various Western currents such as German Romanticism, Utilitarian theology, Neoplatonism, and American utopian thought. They were critics of their contemporary society for its unthinking conformity and urged that each person find in Emerson's word an original relation to the universe. What is transcendentalism? Transcendentalism is a philosophical movement centered around a spirituality that was popular in the mid 19th century. Transcendentalism believes that humans are inherently good but can be corrupted by society and institutions. Inside and experience, and more important than logic, spirituality should come from the self, not organized religion, and nature is beautiful and should be respected. So it's all about spirituality, and it is a philosophy that began in the mid 19th century, and who's founding this movement, who's founding members of founding members are Thoreau and Emerson. According to them, according to them, spiritualities cannot be uh, spirituality cannot be achieved through reason and rationalism, but it is achieved through self-reflection. And transcendentalists believe that argue that going for walk in a beautiful place, and going for walk in a beautiful place, and uh, much more it's much more better than reading a religious book. And in other words, transcendentalists believe that it's not spirituality, it's not something you can explain, it's something you feel. Major transcendentalist values. Here are three major transcendentalist values. First is individualism. So perhaps the most important transcendentalist value is was that in importance of individualism, and they saw the individual as pure, and they also believe that society and its institutions corrupted their purity. People were best when they were independent, and they also believed that people were best when they were independent and could think for themselves. Second is idealism. The focus on idealism comes from Romanticism, a slightly earlier movement, and they believed in importance of imagination, institution, and creativity. They want to bring back a more ideal and enjoyable way of living. Third is divinity of nature. Transcendentalists did not believe in organized religion, but they were very spiritual. They saw nature as a scared and divine. They also believed that humans to have a close relationship with nature, and they saw that humans nature is perfect as it was. Humans should not try to change or improve nature. Major leaders of transcendentalist movement: Ralph Waldo Emerson, Henry David Thoreau, and Sarah Margaret Fuller. Ralph Waldo Emerson, he is an American essayist, poet, and popular philosopher. He began his career as a Unitarian minister in Boston, but achieved a worldwide fame as a lecturer and the author of such essays as Self-Reliance, History, The Oversoul, and Fate. Drawing on English and German Romanticism, Neoplatonism, Kantianism, and Hinduism, Emerson developed metaphysics of process and epistemology of moods and an existentialist ethics of self-improvement. He brought together many of the original transcendentalists and his writings from the foundation of many of the movement's beliefs. He influenced generations of Americans from his friend Henry David Thoreau to John Dewey and in Europe of Friedrich Nietzsche, who takes up such Emersonian themes as power, fate, the use of poetry and history, and the critique of Christianity. The day before the published his essay Nature, he invited a group of his friends to join the Transcendental Club, a meeting of like-minded individuals to discuss their beliefs. He continued to host club meetings, write essays, and give speeches to promote transcendentalism. Some of his most important transcendentalist essays include The Oversoul, Self-Reliance, The American Scholar, and Divinity School Address. Self-Reliance by Ralph Waldo Emerson. This essay wrote in 1841, and throughout the essay they discuss the importance of individuality and how people must avoid the temptation or to conform to society at the expense of their true selves. It also contains the excellent line of foolish consistency in the hobgoblin of little minds adored by little statesmen and philosophers and divines. Self-reliance and an emphasis on the individual over community is a core belief of transcendentalism, and this essay was key in developing that views. Henry David Thoreau. Henry David Thoreau was an American essayist, philosopher, and poet. Thoreau was born in Concord, Massachusetts, and died at the age of 44. Like that of his near contemporaries, Soren Kierkegaard, Thoreau's intellectual career unfolded in a close and polemical relation to the town in which he spent almost his entire life. After graduating from Harvard in 1837, he struck up a friendship with a fellow Concord resident Ralph Waldo Emerson, whose essay Nature he had first encountered earlier that year. Thoreau had intimate bonds with his family and friends and remained unmarried, although he was deeply in love at least twice. Thoreau was a friend of Emerson's, who is best known for his book Walden. Walden is focused on the benefits of individualism, simple living, and close contact with and observation of nature. Thoreau also frequently opposed the government and its actions, most notably in his essay Civil Disobedience. His notable quote, I want to the woods because I wish to live deliberately to front only the essential facts of life and see if I could not learn what it had to teach and not, when I came to die, discover that I had not lived. The Summer Rain by Henry David Thoreau. This is a very famous poem by Henry David Thoreau. The poem describes the narrator's delight at being in a meadow during a rainstorm. The poem frequently mentions the enjoyment that observing nature can bring, and there are many descriptions of the meadow, such as a clover tuft is pillow for my head, and violets quite overtop my shoes. But Thoreau also makes a point to show that he believes nature is more enjoyable and a better place to learn from them than intellectual pursuits like reading and studying. Margaret Fuller. Margaret Fuller was the daughter of a Massachusetts congressman who provided tutors for her in Latin, Greek, chemistry, philosophy, and later German. Exercising that Barbara Packer calls her peculiar powers of institution and charisma. Fuller become friends with many of the transcendentalists, including Emerson. In the winters of 1839 to 44, Fuller organized a series of popular and influential conversations for women in Elizabeth Peabody's bookstore in Boston. She journeyed to the Midwest in the summer of 1843 and published her observation as Summer on the Lakes the following year. Woman in the 19th century, a revision of her great lawsuit manifesto in the Dial is Fuller's major philosophical work. A well-known journalist and ardent supporter of women's rights, she helped confound the Dial, the key Transcendentalist journal with Emerson, which helped comment her place in the movement and spread the ideas of transcendentalism to a wider audience. An essay she wrote for the journal was later published as the book Woman in the 19th Century, one of the earliest feminist work in the United States. She believed in the importance of individual, but often felt that other transcendentalists, namely Emerson, focused too much on individualism at the expense of social reform. Conclusion: by the end of the 1840s, many key transcendentalists had begun to move on to other pursuits, and the movement declined. This decline was further hastened by the ultimately death of Margaret Fuller, one of the leading transcendentalists and confounder of the Dial. Transcendentalism represents an important movement in a new American consolidation of global religious awareness. Seeing such strong connections that were so pervasive in one of Americans' most original intellectual movements, and with Walden long installed as a part of the Western canon. These are work citation.